So I got a track that I co-produced and co-wrote with the lead singer of the band that I was in at the time, The Strike, into one of the biggest Netflix movies of all time. A few weeks after it was released in late summer of 2018, it was reported that over 80 million Netflix accounts had watched this movie. So that was huge exposure for us. Our streaming numbers went through the roof. We ultimately grew our fan base to the point where we were able to keep like a few 100,000 of those listeners, of those monthly listeners that found us on Spotify. It helped us get onto editorial playlists. It helped us get the attention of other record labels that were interested in talking with us. The funny part about all this, we didn't even find out until the movie came out. We were getting ready for a show and our manager was like, hey, so apparently this movie's blowing up and your song's in it. We were like, what movie was this in? He was like, To All the Boys I've Loved Before. We were like, our album had come out a few months previous, and a publishing representative at AWOL, our label at the time, was pitching our music to movies and TV and film. And there was this low-budget movie, this indie rom-com. Anyways, our song makes it into the movie, and the movie blows up. This track was called Human Right, and this movie got our song onto tons of editorial playlists. It got us onto Spotify's algorithmic playlist, like Release Radar, Discover Weekly, and ultimately, after the movie really started to take off, we made our way onto Spotify's top 50 viral chart in the US and in a few other countries. Right next to Diplo and Sia, right there, right above them. Because it was the first of the 3 movies that they ended up making, it was pretty low budget and they didn't have a big music budget. So we got our sync license fee, which I think was like $500. And because of that, it was probably just an email that went to our management at the time. And they were like, yeah, Netflix, sure, we'll take your money. I don't know what this movie is, but great. Yep. Go ahead. It wasn't a huge money earner for us, but the value that we got back from the exposure was fundamental for our success as a band, and we gained a ton of monthly listeners from it, like a few 100,000. I'm going to talk about 3 main things that we did as a band to get our music in a place where multiple people were pitching it, to maximize our opportunities as a band, to get our tracks in movies, TV, and film, so that people can listen to it, so we can grow our streaming fan base, and ultimately get people to come to shows. You might be wondering yourself, how can you do this? Our story, I think, is a pretty similar story of success that really any independent artist, I mean, we were with AWOL, but we still owned our master recordings, and it was like a pretty chill deal. They didn't throw a ton of money into it, but we had contacts at AWOL that were pitching our music for us, and that was the biggest thing, is to get people to pitch. Number 1, we were making noise as a band. We were creating content, we're playing shows as much as we could, especially in our hometown, and then we would break out to nearby cities and try to play those. Networking, playing showcases, we were just hustling. This ultimately got the attention of AWOL. We had management, got us in touch with AWOL, bing bong, we signed a deal with AWOL. It was pretty low key though. We kept ownership of our masters. They took a cut of all the business that they could generate for us, and they agreed to help us get everything to distribution. This was actually like right before DistroKid took off, so it actually really helped us. We could focus on the music. They focused on distribution. But let's be honest, if you're making noise on your own, distribution's kind of taken care of today. But the second big thing that we had going for us was someone to pitch our music for us. Not only did we have people at AWOL pitching our music, but we had other music pitching agencies where we would have a non-exclusive agreement with them that they could go out and pitch our music. So AWOL has a sync department, just like any major publisher or record label, that goes out and pitches music to film, TV, ad agencies, anyone looking for fresh music for their content. They all want to be part of pop culture because they know that pop culture will attract their own audiences to their film, to their TV shows, to their products. The fact that we were making noise and growing our audience, it was a signal that they should at least take a chance and listen to our music and say, oh, like there's some cultural relevance here. There are tons of agencies and tons of online services for video creators, services that just pitch only to ad agencies, TV, film. They're always looking for new music. They're always looking for fresh sounds. Plus, I mean, growing artists who have some hype, people want to get on that train. So that led to our music getting to tons and tons of other placements, like, random MTV stuff and more random MTV stuff. We don't even know who it was, but someone at AWOL pitched our track to Netflix, to All the Boys I've Loved Before. I think it was like a minute of music, went into this dance scene, and the rest is history. It was within like the first 20 minutes of the movie too. Plus it was like this upbeat track. And so I think it caught on pretty well because, people were dancing to it in the movie, people shuffling side to side on their couch and they go, hey, this isn't bad. I should Shazam this song. What is this? So it actually worked out for us that we had this non-exclusive deal with AWOL so we could have other agencies pitch our music for TV and film. Now, the downside of this is if you're non-exclusive, it also means that if you have multiple people pitching the same songs to the same agencies, that can make you look bad. It can make it look like you're trying to get tons and tons of people to get your music to the same places. Not great. And so it can actually be a positive too, to have exclusive rights for someone to pitch your music. Even though we were building some hype, we still didn't have a ton of attention yet. And so the non-exclusive thing wasn't a big deal. Get people to pitch for you. You go pitch it for yourself. If you already have distribution, go talk to the sync department. Go talk to the people that pitch music to TV and film. Let them know, hey, like, I've got this demo. What do you think? If you're in a spot where you can get in touch with them, ask for their advice. They're gonna know what's being placed in TV and film, and they're gonna be up to date on the latest opportunities to get your music out there. Point number 3, and this is probably the most important point, the track was pretty banging. Like, it was pretty dope. Started out with these big drums, big moving bass line. The lead singer and I co-wrote it and produced it in my basement at the place I was living at the time. Recorded, tracked pretty much everything, handed it off to our producer, who brought it to life. Shout out to Nate Pfeiffer, who finished producing that track. Nate Dogg. We got it mixed and mastered, and of course it went onto our album. We poured ourselves into that track, and then we got it done and we released it. It fit the scene of the film really well, and the rest was history. What put us in the position for us to get our music into this massive Netflix movie and to grow our streaming audience, we went from like below 100,000 monthly listeners to above 400,000 monthly listeners. And it's fluctuated between, but it's never dropped back below to where it was before. Again, we were making noise. If you're a producer, this could mean that you're out networking, that you're out doing demos, that you're out there, you're putting your name out there, that people are hearing who you are, they know your name, they've heard your demos, that there's some level of legitimacy to what you're doing because you're just putting yourself out there. Do whatever it is that fills you with creative energy, that puts yourself out there into the world. Just make awesome stuff. Now, that doesn't mean it needs to live up to someone else's standard. That doesn't mean that it has to sound like what someone else is making. It just means that you need to put your whole self into what you're making. Even if you're not sure that you're happy with it, be honest with yourself about the work that you're putting into the music. I used to get caught up all the time in like, oh, you know what, this style's kind of out there. I should produce something a little bit more like this. No. Be you, be unique, be authentic, lyrically tell a good story, take creative risks. The music that sounds like someone took a creative risk is the music that's most interesting to hear. It's the music that's gonna go into a show. It's gonna go into an advertisement. And there's no time to waste with the video content that's being made nowadays to capture people's attention, so the music has to be up to that standard as well. I still can't believe we got this placement. It still was one of the coolest experiences I've ever had in my music career. You will drastically increase your chances of getting big placements if you make noise, get people to pitch your music for you, go pitch the music yourself, and just keep refining your craft. Keep making music, keep releasing music. Be sure to like this video and subscribe, because in an upcoming video, I'm gonna talk about how much money I made from this placement and other streaming placements just like it. Peace out, bye.